Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Super Sports Central. Today, we have my Week 4 NFL Power Rankings. So, going over last week's rankings and what those teams did. Last week, at number 10 was the San Francisco 49ers. They lost to the Broncos on Sunday Night Football. 9 was the Ravens. They beat the Patriots 37-26. 8 was the Packers. They held on to beat the Buccaneers. 7 was the Dolphins. They beat the Bills. 6 was the Chargers. They were destroyed by the Jaguars. 5 was the Rams. They beat the Cardinals. 4 was the Eagles. They dominated against the Commanders. 3 was the Buccaneers. They lost to the Packers. 2 was the Chiefs. They were defeated by the Colts. And 1 was the Bills, who lost to the Dolphins. So, my top 10 this week has seen a ton of movement because of all the losses that were inside the top 10. But coming in at number 10, we have the Chargers. So, they had a brutal loss to the Jaguars this week. They're also dealing with a ton of injuries. Quarterback Justin Herbert is banged up, as I'm sure you guys know. They lost Rashawn Slater for the season with a ruptured biceps. They lost receiver Jalen Guyton, who tore his ACL. Joey Bosa left with a serious groin injury. Plus, they were already without Keenan Allen, so a ton of injuries there for the Chargers. They're still a good team, and this was a really bad loss to the Jaguars, but I think they could definitely improve going forward. But their injuries are catching up to them. So Chargers come in at number 10. 9 is the Vikings. They're jumping back into my top 10 after a win over the Lions. So, the Vikings were able to find other guys than Justin Jefferson because, once again, Jefferson was shut down. But last week on Monday Night Football, Kirk Cousins was forcing the ball to Justin Jefferson. But this time, he was able to find other receivers like Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne. Both had good games. So, Vikings, after defeating the Lions, come in at number 9. 8 is the Rams. They're falling 3 spots, but they really don't deserve to be falling. I haven't really been impressed by the Rams at all this season. Their defense has been pretty good, aside from week 1 against the Bills. And they also allowed a comeback against the Falcons. They did not allow a touchdown this week against the Cardinals. But we all know how good the Rams could be. I just have not seen how good they could physically be so far this season. But they're still a very good team. And they come in at number 8. 7 is the Ravens. They're moving up a few spots after a good win over the Patriots. Lamar Jackson has looked like an MVP candidate so far. 749 passing yards, an NFL leading 10 touchdowns and just 2 picks. Plus, he's ran for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's been leading the Ravens so far. Their defense hasn't been that great. They've given up the most yards in the NFL. But the Ravens offense makes up for that because they're the highest scoring offense in the NFL. And Lamar Jackson is showing he's a really good quarterback and what he can do when completely healthy. 6 is the Chiefs. They're falling a few spots after a loss to the Colts. They should have won that game. They had several mistakes. A muffed punt. Kicker Harrison Butker was not active for that game, so their backup kicker, Matt Amendola, missed an extra point and a field goal. But the Chiefs do fall from 2 to 6. 5 is the Buccaneers. So they lost to the Packers. Tom Brady was without his top 3 targets. Mike Evans, who was suspended, Chris Godwin, and Julio Jones were out with injuries. He was also without his blindside protector, Donovan Smith, who was out with an elbow injury. The defense was really good for them, only allowing 14 points, but the offense just kept struggling and could not score. 4 is the Packers, the team that beat the Buccaneers. They had a great defensive performance, a huge stop on his 2-point conversion. Aaron Rodgers is getting used to throwing to his rookie receivers, or particularly one in Romeo Doubs, who had 8 catches for 73 yards and a touchdown. Another big thing for the Packers is David Bakhtiari made his return from a torn ACL. He played 35 snaps. He was eased back into action with some sort of rotation. But he was one of the best tackles in the NFL before he got hurt, so getting him back for the Packers is absolutely massive. 3 is the Dolphins. They're at 3 after a huge win over the Bills. In a very interesting game, Tua's looked great for the Dolphins. He's currently 2nd in the league in passing yards and tied for 3rd in passing touchdowns. The defense has also been great, but the Dolphins definitely could have lost this game because the Bills mismanaged the clock at the end of both halves. The Dolphins are the current best team in the NFL, or best team in the AFC, tied with the Eagles for the best team in the NFL. But they come in at number 3, and I think they're a very good team, but I do think they should not be number 1. 2 is the Bills. So they did suffer their first loss, and you may think it makes no sense to have the Bills above the Dolphins, even though the Dolphins just beat the Bills. But I still think the Bills are the better team. They were also missing a ton of players due to injury. Their secondary was really banged up. They don't have Micah Hyde, who's out for the season with a neck injury. Jordan Poyer had a foot injury and left the game. Dane Jackson was already out, and Christian Benford broke his hand. Plus, they were already without Trey White, who's missing the first 4 weeks of the season. So the Dolphins were able to take advantage of those injuries, which is what good teams do. But overall, I still think the Bills are the best team in the league, and they're only falling one spot after their loss, so they fall to number 2. And number 1 is the Eagles. They've been great so far. They dominated against the Vikings, dominated against the Commanders, and a good offensive performance in Week 1 against the Lions, although the defense did allow a comeback. Jalen Hurts has gotten off to a great start this season. He's improved a lot as a passer, and we already know he's an elite rushing quarterback. So he's established himself as a true MVP candidate so far. Plus, the Eagles have 2 elite wide receivers, obviously A.J. Brown, as we all know. Plus, Devontae Smith had 169 yards and a touchdown on 8 catches, including 156 of those yards in the first half. So now the Eagles have 2 go-to wide receivers. So those are my Week 4 NFL Power Rankings. The Eagles, Bills, and Dolphins make up the top 3. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know your top 3. Is it Dolphins, Bills, Eagles? Is it Dolphins, Eagles, Bills? Let me know your top 3. You could definitely argue a few different ways. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment. I do my best to post as often as possible, and I will see you in the next video.